Tieluohan, Shui Jin Gui, two fairly famous Wuyi Rock Tea. But how do they taste? Let's find it out together. Hi guys, this is Gabriele from Nannuoshan, where we share the pleasure of drinking and discovering genuine farm tea. And it's not one tea, but it's two teas that I would like to drink today. It is Tieluohan and Shui Jin Gui. They are both Wuyi Rock Tea, and to be more precise, they both belong to the Si Da Ming Cong, which means the four large famous bushes. So it's four different cultivars that made history in the Wuyi yancha, which are Da Hong Pao, Bai Jiguan, Tieluohan and Shui Jin Gui. Sometimes other teas are also mentioned among these four and replace some of these, but generally it is widely accepted that those four are the right one. So I have two teas here, let's say, that are famous, but they are not some of those rock teas where you can really say they have a very specific taste that is easy to recognize. If you ask me which is a typical Wuyi Rock Tea that is easy to recognize, I would mention Bai Jiguan for sure, I would mention Gui, but certainly not Tieluohan and Shui Jin Gui. Nonetheless, they are two different cultivars and they must have also some aromatic and flavor characteristic that belongs to them. So with this comparison today, I would like to find this out. We have done similar videos about that. There is also a video about a comparison between Gui and Bai Jiguan. One time with Caroline, we even made a video about Chilan, which is a rock tea that is a little bit peculiar because it's quite floral, so different than the traditional rock tea that are more intense in taste. So I will put links to those videos in the description below and at the end of this video as well on the screen, so that if you would like to deep more into the world of rock tea, you can look into that. But now let's start with these two. First of all, I will just smell the dry leaves and then I will wash the leaves while I tell you some more information about these two specific tea. So on this side I have Tieluohan. I have 3 grams in my gaiwan. It's instantly, you recognize it is rock tea. It has this characteristic roasting that is still very present actually. That's the first thing that really comes to your nose. I will try to get close to the camera so that you can have a look at the leaves. I hope it is the case that you can see them. So these are the leaves of Tieluohan. Quite dark but not super dark. So it's kind of medium roasting. And this one is Shui Jin Gui. The roasting is there, is even more intense than the other one, but I smell more in the background. There is not only the roasting, there is also its own aroma that is there. I can't really tell you what is it, but I just can tell you that with respect to the other one, my nose detects more. And here, just to have a look at the other leaves, very similar. These looks to me a tiny bit darker. Okay, so now I will wash them quickly, and while I'm doing that I will give you some information about the two teas. So let's start with Tieluohan that I have here on this side. Tieluohan means iron arhat, so it is arhat is a figure of the Buddhism, a figure that have reached enlightenment. And in this case, it's not simply arhat, this is iron, made of iron somehow. It is a tea from spring 2017, and it was from a field, from a tea garden in Dashuiken, which the garden is at about 400 meters above sea level. It belongs to Banyan, so middle cliff, but this is not inside the protected area. If you're not sure about what I'm talking about, Banyan, Zhenyang and so on, we have done 2 videos about the geography of Wuyi Rock Tea. As said, I will put the link in the description below so that you can have a look at that and understand a bit better the geography of the yancha. And I say it is a tea from spring 2017. And what about the roasting? It is actually a medium fire roasting, and it was roasted 4 times. We don't know the temperature, they haven't told us. So what about Shui Jin Gui? Shui Jin Gui means golden water turtle. Shui means water, and it is a tea that comes from inside the protected area. It's still banyan, so half cliff, and the specific name of the place is Da Feng. It is a tea that was roasted 2 times, differently than the 4th time of this one, at 120 degrees centigrade. As we don't know the temperature of this one, it's hard to compare, but I would say that the 2 roasting levels are very similar, and also this tea is from spring 2017. So we have a lot of commonalities within these 2 teas, which will help us hopefully to detect really the taste of the cultivar. Okay, so I will also rinse my cup, and as you see today I'm using Gaiwans, and there are different ways of doing comparison between teas, and I also use different methods depending on what I'm doing and which is my mood. When I do a single infusion, a long steeping, then I prefer to go for tea taster max. When I do several infusions, I rather use Gaiwan, and I try to use white Gaiwan, white cups, clear pitcher, so that I can really look at the color of the tea. Here I instantly see that this is a bit darker, for example, easy to see with the white contrast. 100 milliliter Gaiwan, let's say they have just 3 grams of leaves, and I'm steeping at about 90 degrees, warming up the water now. And I don't need much more than that, because I will don't do 2000 steeping, I will do just a few, and I can then make them a bit longer, so I don't really need a lot of leaves, just 3 grams. Sometimes I also like actually to steep rock tea in a bowl. Just 3 grams of leaves in 150 milliliter bowls and let it there for minutes and minutes. I've done this one time with John when we were tasting outdoor 8 different yancha. So you want to check that video if you haven't heard about this tasting method to compare different tea. In particular, it's good for oolong, very suited for Taiwan oolong. Okay. So water temperature is fine, and I would say before brewing I will now smell the aroma of the wet leaves. That usually tells you more than the dry leaves. I start with the lid. Quite different, definitely different. This is lighter and fresher. Yeah. It smells like very sweet fruits. No, not at all this one. More deep in aroma, I would say. Yeah. And now let's go for a steeping. I actually a timer here in front of me, and I will use that for the steeping. I will do 45 seconds as a first steep, and then I will increase the steeping time with the next one. I even don't need much water. Probably I will use even less than 100 milliliter. Let's look. I usually take 15 seconds between the two, so that I don't have to rush when I will pour it out. It is faster to pour water in the gaiwan than to pour it out. So let's wait a little bit, and then let's see what the taste, the taste of the first sip tell us. The first steep. It will be surely lighter, because I like having a first light brewing to get into the taste. And here we are. And let's see this one here. And we have 45 seconds. This time I was quite precise. Okay, here we are. Let's look at the color of the brew. So you can tell, I hope you can see it on the white background, that this is darker. This is more orange. Here is more brown reddish. So not only the leaves are slightly darker, but also the brew, the liquor. This is not always the case. Now we go for a taste. The first thing that I will concentrate on is not so much the specific taste, but I want to get more a feeling of if it is rather sweet, bitter, sour, there is umami maybe in it, so salty, the 5 basic tastes, just to get the frame of the taste itself. Tieluohan. Quite aromatic, as said, not only the aroma, but also the taste is aromatic. I taste much less the roasting than I was smelling it before, but still it is there. Now I would say before, I told you when I smell it, I was just smelling the roasting. Now the roasting is more actually in the background, and I have this light fruity aroma on the front. Very pleasant indeed. I didn't tell you about the price, so it's important also for having a comparison. It tells both about the quality but also about the origin. We say this one is from the protected area, so tends to be more expensive. So I would say both are very sweet. Very sweet for being rock tea. Let's say from a level from 1 to 3 star, I would give it 2 stars to sweetness. So it's not super sweet, but fairly sweet. And I would say very sweet for a rock tea. Both of them. There is none of the two is sweeter than the other. They're just sweet in different way, but have the same level of sweetness, I would say. I will taste a little bit more, see if I spot any bitterness. Nothing, so there really for me would be 0 bitterness. And sour, they are not sour, really not at all. Let's see. Yeah, sweet. If I have to pick another one, I would say slightly umami note. It has something that reminds me of white meat somehow. And what about the Shui Jin Gui? Sweet, as said. It has to me a little bit more minerality, like a salty note. Maybe, yeah, to saltiness I would give 1 star out of 3. So we have both 2 stars for sweetness, 1 star for umami, 1 star for saltiness, we said. So this is to frame, so we start already seeing some differences. And as I said, I'm not pretending right now that those are characteristic of all Tieluohan and all Shui Jin Gui, but this is something that I want to find out. So I will use this as a reference. If you have other Tieluohan and Shui Jin Gui at home, try them out and see if also your tasting meet mine. If you have ours, you can use those as a reference. We have them right now on stock, Tieluohan and Shui Jin Gui. And I told you before about the prices. So as I said, the Shui Jin Gui is a bit more expensive. We sell it for 30 euros for 50 grams. And the Tieluohan, I think it is 23 euros. So it's there is a fairly I would say difference in price, and both are not super cheap, but nonetheless this is more of the more expensive one. Yeah, let's say doesn't have to be related with the quality of the tea itself. It just comes from the protected area. And although this one is also a banyan half cliff, nonetheless could be is outside the protected area, so the price is a bit lower. Now I'm going for a minute. Put even less water than before. Wait, let's stick with the water as before. 1 minute steeping, and in the second steeping, I want to focus more on specific notes. I already revealed you that these, just because it was so evident, was in my mouth like fruity, sweet fruits. So it has some fruity note that I didn't spot in there, but I want to go a level deeper than that now. Now that I have framed the sweetness, saltiness and umami, I want to go one level deeper and see what there is more than that. Let's see if I can spot some association with some specific fruits. Not yet, I didn't thought about that before, but let's see. All right, we're getting there. Just a few seconds left. You see that probably you've seen also in other videos, often when I pour out the tea, like I'm doing right now, when at the end you always have some drops at the bottom of the gaiwan, and I always try, especially when I do this kind of professional tea tasting, you know, to take all the light up to the last drop out. This is something that Chinese don't like. They say you don't have to force the tea out, you have just to bend, wait, let it flowing out, and then put it back in place. For me, it depends what I'm doing with the tea. In this case, it's more of a, if you want, experimental scientific approach. I want to get all the taste out. Those last drops matter, they are very intense, and so I want to pour everything out. Very constant, like before. We have this one is more of an orange, and this is a little tiny bit darker, so that remains from the previous one. Tieluohan. This fruity sweetness is so there. It might remind you of the sweetness of pineapple or of a very ripe pear. Yeah, definitely white fruit, or yellow in this case, yellow fruit, pineapple, pear. Yeah, this is the thing in this one. So very sweet, a little bit of umami, yellow fruits. If I have to say something, sweet fruits, so pineapple and ripe pear. And a decent aftertaste. Here the fruitiness is not on the front. It's more of a vegetal taste. Maybe some cocoa beans as well, so deeper, stronger cocoa beans, but it's not bitter. That's the interest. Slightly astringent. This one not. This one slightly astringent on the palate. If you are unsure about the difference between bitterness and astringency, there is a video about that. Go and check it out. Yeah, astringent, some cocoa, maybe red berries because of the astringency as well. And a kind of forest woody taste a little bit. Yeah, deeper for sure, deeper in taste, more mineral than the other one. So, and while I will taste this one, I will do one more steep. Actually, in a normal situation, what I would do maybe another steep at 90 seconds here, and maybe one after that at 120, and then a power steep at the very end. Now I don't want to keep on this forever, so what I'm doing just now a longer steeping. I will ruin maybe a little bit the tea because it has much more potential, so I could actually split it more, but whatever, just to see what else there is left in the leaves. So I'm going for a fairly long brewing. Okay, still watching at the clock so that I can be 15 seconds difference between the two and I can be consistent. All right, I think it's also pretty much the same amount of water. And while this is steeping, now I deepen a little bit this. So let's see what there is more into this. The fruitiness, of course, is there. Now that it's cooling down, I would say there is a tiny something of spiciness, maybe a tiny bit of cinnamon, some tobacco notes, but I say in the background. So the fruitiness and sweetness is on the front, and then you have, yeah, you have this additional spiciness on the background. Yeah. And remain quite a lot in your mouth, so I have to wait a little bit to switch to Shui Jin Gui. Yeah, what I would say here, really high minerality. It's quite clear, this salty taste on the mouth, mineral salty, like you would lick on a stone. Who does not? In the meanwhile, these two gaiwans have been steeping almost for 2 minutes, so I will now take everything out of the gaiwan and see what remains left. Something interesting that I suggest you doing with rock tea, this is really a peculiarity of rock tea, for whichever reason, you have a lot of aroma, a lot of fragrance that remains in the empty pitcher. Not necessarily with all of them, but with good quality, it's pretty much always the case. More in this one, but it's a very high pitch sweet aroma that remains in the pitcher. You cannot find anything of all the cocoa beans and forest that I was saying before and woody notes. It's just a very sweet and like a fine parfum, still very addictive. Yeah, very addictive. And you see, I've been treating both the same way, and here you have more somehow. It's interesting because when I first smelled this one, it was very clear that it has this clean, sweet, fruity note. Then I smelled the other one, went back to the first one, and there was nothing there. So this is definitely more present. Still there. Like you can do whatever you want with your pitcher, and it smells. It's like glass smelling. All right, so let's look at the time. Wow, we have 3.5 minutes. So let's see after 3.5 minutes how it is the taste. Certainly strong. It is the third steep, so long. I say it's only 3 grams, but I'm not really putting a lot of leaves inside. Sorry, of water inside, so it's fairly dense. These are not really 100 milliliter. Of course, with the 100 milliliter gaiwan, some of the space of the volume is taken by the leaves, that tends to take up quite some space. But very large leaves. We will have a look at the leaves also. So 3.5 minutes. Now still this slightly darker, but now they are getting really close in terms of intensity of color. Yeah, also in the cup, if I fill the cup the same amount, they are both orange, and the difference is just so tiny, just a tiny bit. So you see how even if you keep all the parameters the same, the teas do not behave the same way all the way through. Still not sweet. sorry, still not bitter and still sweet. I had two things at the same time in my mind. No bitterness, but sweet. This fruity pineapple pear notes is still there, very present. So if I have to mention one thing about Tieluohan, please look into that. If you have other Tieluohan at home, I will do the same in the course of the next months. If I get some, these sweet, fruity, yellow fruits notes. And this more vegetal, a little bit of cocoa. It is more a less distinctive taste. Like these, it's kind of easy to spot. Now I'm really curious to find out if it is a characteristic of the cultivar, of this batch, or only of this batch. But if it is a characteristic of the cultivar, quite easy to spot. This one, not that easy. But you could go by exclusion basically. So I say rounder, yeah. Something to mention also, the texture in your mouth, it has that astringency still on the palate, but nonetheless it is fairly round in terms of texture, of tactile feeling in your mouth. While this one, despite being lighter, sweeter, no astringency at all, nonetheless it is a little bit more crispy in the texture, oily crispy somehow, so which is contradicting because oil is very viscous, very flat, but nonetheless it's like it has this thickness to it, and in addition a little bit of crispiness, if that makes sense to you. So all in all, that's my finding about Tieluohan and Shui Jin Gui. By the way, if you are wondering which kind of methodology which kind of sequence I've actually followed in this tasting, it is based on some tasting notes that are available for you as well. So if I don't have them with me right now, but actually I remember them by heart, and these some tasting notes that guide you through the tasting. So you first identify the basic taste, and then you go one level deeper. You ask yourself, what about the texture? What about the intensity? Then you go one level deeper and you look, is it fruity, mineral, woody, vegetal, and so on. So we have those available for you. It's just a PDF you can print, and next time you place an order with us, just add a comment to your order asking for the tea tasting notes, and we will send them to you just for free with an email. Alright, I hope you have enjoyed that. Please, if you have Tieluohan and Shui Jin Gui at home, go ahead, do this experiment yourself and let me know if you find out something similar or not. We want to find out if what I have tasted today are characteristic of the cultivar or just of these specific two batches. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe our channel if you haven't done it so, and go ahead, give us a thumbs up, as it is so important for us. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye guys.